Welcome back. We're continuing with Steve's day. This is number 2. We've already built Steve. Now we're going to build a meteor. So if you haven't guessed it, Steve's going to get hit by a meteor. But that's right, because he's waving to it, so it must be friendly. So first thing we're going to do is create another sprite. Anything that moves in Scratch must be made with a sprite. Backgrounds are something different. Remember, we are not doing a backdrop. We are doing a sprite. If you find something over here, then you made a mistake. Go back and fix it. So we're going to do paint, so we get just a blank canvas. And this time I'm going to use the paint tool itself. I'm going to get a color. Now, since I'm doing a meteorite, I'm actually going to do it kind of in a red, but in a very dark. Let me get some more dark there. Dark red. And I'm going to make something that roughly looks like a meteor. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to connect. For the next stage to work, it has to connect. Now, don't make it all over the place, and you'll notice it's just a rock. The next thing we're going to do is fill our meteor. When we fill it, we'll actually create 2 shapes. The first shape will be the outer rim. That'll be one shape, and the inside will literally be a shape that matches the inside of the other shape. And I'm going to change that fill to make that a little lighter so I can get some more lava look. And I'm going to click in there. Now, to show you its 2 shapes, I'm going to go to the select tool, which is always important, and I'm going to move one shape. And you'll see it really is just 2 shapes. I'm going to Control Z so it puts that back. And my next goal will be to make some things to make it look like it's flowing. And to do that, I'm going to edit the individual points. And they call this the reshape tool. And I click on the inside, you'll see there's all the original points. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see some more. And I'm going to pull it because my meteor is going to come from the top right corner. It's going to come down to Steve's face. So I'm actually going to draw some out this way to make it look like it's flowing out of the sky. Whoops. Hit Control Z. Anytime you don't do something you wanted to see, hit Control Z is your friend. So there's our meteor. It looks like it's flowing out of the sky. One more here. And we've got it. You can see up the thing. It looks like it's zooming down out of the sky. And that makes me happy. I'm going to call this my meteor. Meteor. And I'm going to leave it alone. Now, my meteor on this screen appears a little large. I don't want it to be quite so big. I want it to be roughly maybe a little larger in space. To change that size, instead of going over here and trying re-squishing everything, what I'll do is I'll go over here to size, and I'm going to put like 75. I think that'll probably be better. There. You can see my meteor is a little more like his face. Remember, I can move it around on the stage. It doesn't affect this at all. My meteor only needs one costume right now, so I'm going to let it go. I'm going to hit save now because that's a good thing to do. I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm going to look at my meteor. So the next code we're going to use is a code that's going to stop when it hits Steve. I know that's a little violent, but it's okay. So we want it to stop when it hits it. What we want it to do is go from this corner to here, and we call that gliding. So again, I want it to happen when the green flag is pressed. I'm going to select when green flag is pressed. Then I'm going to do the glide. Now, here's the important part. If that starts up in the corner, look at the glide to X button or the glide to 1 seconds to X. You'll notice right now it literally matches the coordinates over here. If I put it up here, it'll stay the same, but when it glides, it'll go nowhere. I want it to glide to here. So I'm selecting glide 1 second to that point. Now, that's great. There is a problem, though, and I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to stick this meteor up in the corner, and I'm going to hit save now because I did some stuff. And I'm going to hit the green flag, and we'll see that Steve starts waving, and the meteor hits him. The meteor's a little fast, and Steve is unaffected. So let's stop that. Meteor's a little fast. Let's slow that down. I'm going to go 10, so we got really long suspense. But you'll notice my meteor doesn't reset. So if I press again, it really doesn't do anything because my meteor is not going back to its spot. Now that I have the glide to, what I want to do is stick the meteor up in the corner. So And when you're doing this, if you try to hold this side and stick it off, it's just going to bounce back. You got to kind of hold it to the part where your cursor is still inside the stage, and then it'll work. And now you'll see I can go to X, and that again matches my coordinates. So I'm going to put go to X, and I'm going to put it at the beginning. So as my thing starts, it's going to pop back to that position and then glide forward. Let's go ahead and save, and then watch what happens. Wait, Steve is waving to the meteor. Over here, come get me. Maybe say nanny, nanny, boo, boo. Maybe it's not a meteor. Who knows? So it gets there. We're going to hit stop because Steve's waving. So when the meteor gets there, I'd love to see some kind of explosion. To do that, we're going to again go to our make a sprite, and I'm going to make a new sprite for explosion. Going to hit the paint, make a new sprite for my explosion. My explosion is going to be a little out there, and I'm good with that. So I'm going to do paint. I'm kind of happy with the red color there because that's what it is. And I'm going to draw an explosion. You'll notice I'm not an artiste, and there's my explosion. Again, it doesn't matter what size it is, remember, and it's got to close on itself. It doesn't matter what size it is because we can rephrase that over here. I'm going to name my sprite Explosion. And now I'm going to do a fill, but I'm going to do a little different this time. When I pick the color, I'm going to go up here, and across the top, I have a solid all the way through some different fades. I'm going to pick that center fade, and I'm going to fade from, I'm going to go from a deep yellow to that red I had before. So deep yellow to red. When I click down here, you'll see I get a cool little deal. And if I wanted to, just because I can, I'm going to select this outside layer, and I'm actually going to delete it. So now my explosion is just that. Remember, it doesn't matter where it is up here. I can move it around. I'm going to move it over to where it hits. That's where it's going to start, right? But down here in my canvas, it doesn't have any problems at all. So I'm going to go back to code. So I want an explosion, but I want it to occur when the meteor hits. So let's start using some broadcasting. Broadcasting is a great way. Let's go to the meteor. So the meteor is really what everything is timed after. It's going through this. As soon as its glide is done, I want it to do some things. So what I want it to do is broadcast. So I'm going to go to events. I always get it wrong. And I'm going to broadcast a message. And my message is going to be called hit. So I click broadcast, put it there, new message, and I'm going to title it hit because that's what it does. Right after it hits, I'm going to do some stuff. So the hit broadcast is going to do a bunch of things all at once. Let's start with the first one. The first one, we're going to go back to our explosion. Remember, if you see it in this upper right-hand corner of your code block, it means you're on the right sprite. So my explosion, when I receive hit, that's what I care about, right? When I receive hit, I'm going to start my explosion really small. To do that, I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to set my size to a really small size, literally 10%. And then I'm going to step it up and explode it. Now, to step it up, what I need is a loop. Loops are found in control. I'm going to use a loop that repeats, let's say, 15 times. And in my repeat, I'm going to change the size and make it bigger. So I'm going to go back to my looks. And each time I'm going to change the size by 10, and that's a positive number. So it's going to keep making that bigger and bigger. So tell you what, let's go ahead and see what we go. I'm going to hit save now, and I'm going to hit present. Oh my gosh, I've got a real problem. My explosion is just hanging there on the screen. It hasn't received hit, but we can watch the explosion. It gets there, it starts small and gets really big. So that's neat, but you notice now it's stuck on the screen. So I need to go to something called show hide. Show hide is great. Now, when I press the green button, I'm going to use that to set everything. And I can have multiple types of events. attached to each sprite. So let's do the explosion. So when the green arrow is clicked, I'm going to go to looks and I want it to hide the explosion. If I use hide, it means I've got to use show. So the minute we go to hit, I want it to show. That means it'll pop on the screen and then go through its steps. Now, since I also have that and I've done show and hide, I see Steve's legs sticking out here and his arm waving kind of weird, and I can see pieces of the meteor, and I really don't want that. I'm going to do the same things over there based on hit. So I'm going to go back to Steve and I'm going to do events. So when I receive hit, I want him to disappear, but not right away because it takes a moment. I'm going to give him a 1 second wait, and that happens to be right here, but that's control if you don't have that all on one screen. 1 second, and then I want him to hide. So I go to looks and I select hide. If I press hide here, I've got to put show at the beginning, otherwise he'll never show up again. So now I've got Steve. This block right here is the same one for the meteor, and I almost hate to do this because it fails me so often. I'm going to right click and duplicate. I'm going to move that duplicate over here, and then I'm going to take it and drop it right on the meteor. Now, you'll see it put it in there for me, but it left an old copy there. So, it left a copy there. I'll go ahead and get rid of that one by moving off to the right. So the meteor picked the same one. I didn't have to do any work. I've got a hide. Sorry, that's Steve. I've got a hide here. Obviously, I need a show. And I think I'm ready. I'm going to hit save now. I think I'm ready to make Steve's day bad. So let's hit stop and let's run our program. Whoop, there's Steve. He's waving to the meteor. Come over here. I'm over here. And boom. And Steve's gone. Now, I can fix things like I could make that explosion a lot bigger. I'm going to change the size by 15. That'll make it pick up the speed, right? I can also put a time block in there. Remember what I said before about controlling for time? I can put a time block in here. Maybe it set it at point 1. Now, I'll stop it and run it again. Here comes Steve. There are a ton of things you can do to your program to make it better than it was. It's just kind of up to you how you want to do it. So there's my explosion. It gets much bigger. It kind of went a little weirder. I can change it. I can go 0.01. You can do anything you want at this point. So that's Steve's day. He had a rough one, but sometimes that happens. And I hope that helps them.